Dimbert with Rhiannon Alley. We're interrupting our programming to bring you breaking news. There has been a bridge collapse at Baltimore, Maryland, and fire officials say people fell into the water.
The scene is the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It has been hit by a container ship.
Images show the aftermath of the collapse. Other images being shared online show the massive steel structure and multiple vehicles falling into the Patapsco River.
Fire officials say one of the vehicles in the water is as big as a tractor trailer.
Joining us now on the phone is ABC's Sam Sweeney, covers transportation for us in our D.C. bureau. Sam, what do you know for us? What do you know right now about this incident?
Andrew, this all happened about 1:30 this morning. That massive cargo ship with thousands of containers on board, for some reason, hit one of the columns that supports this bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge. This is in the Baltimore harbor area. This is a high traffic route for these ships. It was pulling out of the harbor, leaving port, when for some reason it wasn't able to maneuver correctly, and it hit one of those pylons. Now, normally in this area, there is someone from the harbor who controls the ship, pilots this ship out of the harbor before the actual crew of the ship then takes over. There are some outlets reporting that the crew on board the ship is okay, but what we can see from images that are now surfacing is part of the bridge that collapsed actually fell on top of the ship. And in the live stream video, we see the lights flicker on that boat. Does that point that they lost some sort of maneuverability? We are working to find that out. We expect that the NTSB will launch a GO team. We know a number of different agencies are working this. They are using night vision goggles. Divers are in the water. And at the time of the collapse, there was a construction crew working on there. They believe that there are at least 7 people, but there could be more in the water from that crew. Now, also in the moments leading up to this, it looks like traffic was slowed down a bit. In the minutes before, there were a number of cars and trucks crossing at regular speed. But in the seconds before the crash, it looks like traffic may have been stopped or slowed down. Were they able to give the bridge authority or the people who were in charge of the bridge some sort of warning that they had lost control and that they were going to hit the pylon? We don't know that yet, but the good news is that it looks like there were fewer cars than there were just a few moments before the actual impact.
That would be some good news, and hopefully those reports are accurate, that the crews on the ship are at least okay. Our thoughts, obviously, with everyone in Baltimore this morning. Now, Sam, we still have a couple of hours before daylight. Let's talk about the challenges for the divers and the rescue crews out there.
Well, look, the water is cold. That's the number one thing. It's about 47 degrees. One can survive in that kind of condition for roughly an hour before hypothermia sets in. And then, of course, you have the darkness, so trying to find anybody who may need help. And then you have the debris from the bridge that is, dangling in portions or, just above the surface or just below the surface. Could it fall more, putting, those rescuers, first responders in danger. There are a number of boats out there. The Coast Guard is working this. They are using helicopters from the air to try to find people. You can see when you look at the video, a number of lights, spotlights are being used. They're using night vision goggles, as I mentioned, but this is all hands on deck. The Baltimore City Fire spokesperson telling me that this is a dire mass casualty event.
And Sam, just to give our viewers a sense of where this happened, that Key Bridge goes over the Patapsco River, essentially connecting the port of Baltimore to what ultimately is the gateway to the Atlantic Ocean. Cargo ships come in and out of there. So how could a ship presumably hit a bridge pillar? And do we know if that construction work you mentioned played a role in this at all?
That's a big question. We don't know the specifics of exactly how this unfolded. We see the lights flicker on that ship as it either just moments before it hits or as it's hitting that ship. But we believe there was overnight construction work going on. The bridge was limited to one lane in each direction. But again, we don't know how exactly this happened.
We do know that the ship was a 950-foot long ship. That is a massive ship. What else do we know? Do we know how many crew members would be on a ship this size?
We don't know exactly how many crew were on board, but this is one of those ships, as you said, it's massive. It has thousands of containers on it. It sails around the world. It was flagged out of Singapore, and it was leaving the harbor. But the big question again is, why did it hit this bridge? Did it lose its maneuverability? Was there some sort of an electrical problem? That's what we're hoping to find out, and we are waiting on a statement from that company.
And as you see, we have some of the aerial shots here of those rescue response efforts. It is dark. You can see the helicopter there using a light. Sam, when the sun finally rises, how much will that help first responders here and those rescue efforts? It may seem like an obvious question, but they really are up against the clock here. You mentioned the temperatures of the water. You know, it's only an hour or so, you said, before hypothermia starts to set in.
You know, look, there are so many different variables here. You have portions of this bridge that are actually sitting on top of that massive cargo ship. You have portions of the bridge that are still connected to the pylon. Could someone be, latched onto some of the metal there, some of the bridge debris that is above water waiting to be rescued? And will that daylight play a part in that? Of course. We can't get daylight soon enough, but I can't begin to explain. We were talking about the significance of this bridge. Baltimore has a number of bridges and tunnels, and this is one of the outermost ones. It's also designated as the hazmat bridge. So trucks that are carrying, potentially dangerous goods cannot use the tunnels that get into Baltimore. They have to come around this bridge. There are roughly 11 million vehicles that use this bridge. This is going to have ramifications, not just for today, tomorrow, next week, or next month, but for possibly years to come. This was built back in 1977 and has an extensive history and plays a major part in the transportation in and out of the Baltimore area.